Tell me another story. Something where a knight outsmarts a bunch of fuckwits and gets a cool new sword, or maybe like several cool new swords. And then he uses those cool new swords like once or twice in his entire lifetime, but he hangs on to them because of how cool it looks. Tell me the tale of the knight's sword. So, one of the viewers said I should probably discuss a little more about Toorays during the quiet parts. And at first I figured who the fuck would want to hear me yap about that, I'm pretty old school when it comes to the lore, but that might actually be a perfect fit for this one. So during the last quest with Romeo and Juliet, they're actually part of a set of families that survived a necromancer attack. Not a lot of people survived that big fight. There was a massive battle between an undead army, which still has remnants underneath the city to this day. But their master's gone, so they're rogue. And that's also just like the eastern tip of the two kingdoms that occupy the eastern edge of Gilmore, which itself is an anagram for religion, but I'll save that joke for later when I get around to doing more lore-related quests to do with the events of the God Wars. But for now, let's talk about Falador. It's obviously a large city, however, you'll notice that there's no king anywhere, no lords, just the knights and a few leaders. Maybe there is one lord, but if there is one lord, but I haven't seen him yet. So the city is actually run by a council of knights, elderly knights, probably, because the king of Asgardia is long gone. Now in the newer game, Runescape 3, it's believed that Saradomin has become the king. Largely not up to speed with Runescape 3, other than that they apparently made the Temple Knights a Zarosian organization, which I guess it became mainstream to like Zaros. Not a shock there, it was kind of fucking awesome. Anyway, these two kingdoms were founded after the events of the God Wars, which were right around the early 4th Age is when these were founded. Before then, it was largely a wasteland after what the wars did. So humans came out east from the far west where they initially started. The oldest kingdom is actually Kandaren, which is Ardoin, Yaneli, and a few smaller settlements. And Catherby too, although I'm not entirely sure if that's its own kingdom or not, because Camelot is there and there's King Arthur. That is a nice looking helmet. I envy that guy. He has a nice look. I want a helmet like that someday. Anyway, as I was saying, there's 3 or 4 main kingdoms in the world. At least human kingdoms, and most of them originate from the east, from the west. From the west. If I had to guess, I would say that the Kondo, or whatever the hell they're called, might have done something horrible, like their nation or whatever. There's not really a lot left to read on them that I could find in-game anywhere, but apparently there was this whole lost city for them underneath one of the mountains, but I don't think that that's canon in this timeline. We'll see, I guess. Now, from what little we do know, they were basically the, oh, look, I'm being kidnapped. Hang on, I think I see the solution. No, no, this is one of those single door ones. Anyway, from what I can gather, the Mkanda dwarves, there's really not much left of their civilization that I could ever find. What little I did find amounted to a skill sink that they added on last minute. It was either an old school or a new school, I don't remember. But if I had to guess, given my experience with dwarves, it may have been related to what would eventually become the Zamarakian part of their culture known as the Red Axe. They may have been, like, hand-in-hand dwarven supremacists at some point and gotten themselves into a horrible war, which is what happened to the original dwarves as well, and they just didn't survive. Or, more likely, now that I'm reflecting on it, it's more likely that the Red Axe formed as a result of that war, and there was something a little bit more direct related to their... Okay. So yeah, the only way is through this door, because there's only 2 doors per segment. There's another dead end here. There's another door, right? No, it's right there. Anyway, the Mkandos were probably wiped out during the Human-Dwarven War. Which I don't doubt was sparked by the likes of HAM or other groups like that. You know, equivalencies of the 4th Age, or 3rd Age even. I swear to God, if they teleport me somewhere stupid because they made an unsolvable maze, I'm going to... I don't know. Honestly, they'll probably teleport me somewhere close to where I'm going anyway. This maze tends to be useful for traveling if they give you an unbeatable one. No, they just gave me a fucking unbeatable maze with a dead end. Okay. Fuck you too, buddy. Because there's no door there. I have to go around. And there's no other door in here either. There's... Unless I went the wrong door here. You know, I don't really care about the treasure. But if this maze would be like, you know, if they're going to do a randomly generated maze, they should probably find a way to make it so that you don't get stuck in it. Because all it does is just derail your travel usually, and if it doesn't derail your travel, it puts you somewhere close by where you're going. But it still wastes more than twice the amount of time it would take you to just run there anyway. Let's see, in order to get there I'd have to go find a way around into the opposite ring of the maze and find the door in. Oh, No, I'm just stupid. Door's right there. Alright. There we go. Okay, so there is more than 2 doors in any given segment. It's just a bitch to find them. You know, you'd think with invisible walls this would be like super fucking easy. If they really wanted to be an asshole about it, they could do something like, you know, make the walls solid so that you can see through them and like black out the areas that you're not in. Come on. There we go. I got 1% of the prize. That's a handful of feathers in a death room. Guess it's better than being sent to the wilderness or something stupid like that. Let's go. Anyway, I reckon that there was a major war between the humans and dwarves a very long time ago. That's what little I understand of it. And I'm guessing that the Imatios got wiped out during that war. Or at least nearly wiped out, because there's 1 or 2 of them left in the entire world. See, my blade was forged by dwarven blacksmiths under a full moon night with autism, so you know it's good. I'll probably use this thing for like the rest of forever if I can. It took upwards of 5 days worth of grinding guards in Relica's market, because they don't have Waterbirth Island yet. But I got like, and this is probably secretly the best weapon in the game for an adventurer. See, it has the stats of an adamant scimitar, which I'm sure if you play regular old school or even RS3 has probably been level creeped out of meta. But for this age of this game, this was back when Rune was actually viable, like top tier gear, and it was a pain in the ass to acquire. For most players anyway. I mean, there's plenty of people who abuse the meta now. Okay, so and our pies. For those of you who are wondering, by the way, I am getting multiple copies of this sword just so I have something kind of cool keepsake from all this. Because this is still a really good looking sword that I can't afford to miss out on if I ever wanted a backup weapon. So another bit of lore, since we're going to be on a long walk anyway, I believe would be returning to the stories of the Necromancer. Now, not a lot of people actually read into this much, but during the Fourth Age, like I said before, there was a major incident involving some sort of powerful necromancer raising an army of the undead to terrorize the kingdom of, it's not Kandarian, it's, Mistalin, right. They call it Mistalin, and, that's Lumbridge, Varrock, and I do believe Edgeville was also part of that kingdom. And a lot of the original, like, major families that take place in some of the quests actually have ancestors or even, like, elders who were alive long enough to have fought during that war or otherwise survived it in some fashion. It's also why there's not as many kids right now, although that's a different story. Now, a lot of the oldest surviving champions and heroes in this game have some history relating or otherwise direct connection to that war. A father who fought in it, or an ancestor, or even a grandfather who's still alive who fought in it. And it made a lot of the things that you see today in Mistalin, including the large bands of goblins going around and also all the undead in Varrock's sewer and other places. Really just anywhere that there was a sewer that they could hide in, that's where the undead retreated to after their master was defeated. The actual defeat of their master comes down to two stories. The first one is probably the one that I think is true, and that's a Rav came back or was around and saved them. And then the other story is just nobody actually knows who the fuck defeated the Necromancer, because I certainly don't know yet. You know, this is a nice looking shack he's got. This is new. Well, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm getting RuneScape Classic vibes from the 2D days from this. Is what it used to look like before they made it 3D. He ate the pie tray as well, didn't he? And we're going back to Falador. So yeah, we befriended an Amakando dwarf, which is just a dwarf with slightly more tan skin because they lived above ground. Now, the little bits of lore that I know about Falador and their knights, you know, I know that Varrock used to be known as Averica, and that was when it was a capital city of mostly tents, and people were using silver currency based on the kingdom of, well, the empire that spanned before it. There's not really a lot of lore explaining why there's not silver and copper coins anymore. Or if there ever was in the game anyway. Or why is it just but they stopped using them apparently. Anyway, Falador started as a Saradominist colony, and there's actually a good amount of agriculture going on all over the place, including one of the biggest farms in the game. So it kinda fits in with Saradomin's lore, where he encourages agriculture and peace, as well as, you know, warriors that fight to defend rather than fight for power. Personally, I still think Zaros is way fucking cooler, but I don't think they're ever gonna give us that ever again. Pretty sure Zaros is gonna remain a total mystery in this version. Which is probably for the better, because when they actually made lore about him, it was a lot less mysterious and a lot more forlorn good guy. This is called Scape 05, by the way, for those of you who might want to play it. Now, I don't know if this settlement goes back to the Third Age during the God Wars or not. You know, maybe the fort might go back to the God Wars, but I doubt it. It'd have had to have been a pretty bloody battle if they're this deep into that territory. All I can offer right now is speculation. I could do, you know, like a thing where I go to the wiki and just start reading off the wiki, but that'd feel kind of cheesy. On a non-lore related note, or maybe it's just new lore that I don't really like, they have a scene where you're drinking bull semen now in old school. That's an extreme, like that's the way I describe it. They're a lot more subtle about it, but it's pretty fucking obvious that you're drinking, you know, you're drinking bull babies or whatever the fuck. Related to some new boss fight. I might check it out, but I'm not really recording anything with old school right now. I'm just gonna record this to start. I don't think we're gonna be able to get it. Come on, dude. Step outside. Leave your room. Fucking sucker. Okay. Okay, let's get going. I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of commentary on future quests, but this one is particularly long-winded, to the extent where I even did preparations before recording instead of going to mine this stuff. People who say it's short don't remember that there's no way for you to just go to the crab exchange and buy the things you need, and then fuck around trying to mine fluorite from a safe spot. Because that cave doesn't really have a lot of safe spots in this version. It's sort of pre-safe spot era. So this should make us quite a few spare swords. I'm probably never really going to use the thing, but it's a cool little thing to have on hand. So yeah, if I turn off my mic so that you don't have to hear all this background static, that might also improve quality over time too. We'll see. And so, the squire got away with breaking the sword, and the young knight, crusader, lived happily ever after, smiting nymphs and stealing blur-eyed swords because they look swagalicious. The end.